Bole Baba ki jai. Saraswati Mata ki jai. So we read last time chapters 1 and 2 of the Srimad Devi Bhagavatam from the book 1. And chapter 3 is primarily about describing the Puranas, of which there were 18. And I'll go on to read a little bit about this. At every Manvantara, which is a huge chunk of time in this tradition, and each Dwarpa Yuga, Vedavyasa expounds the Puranas duly to preserve the religion. Vedavyasa is no other than Vishnu himself. He is the form of Vedavyasa, and in that form he divides the one Veda into 4 parts in every Dwarpa Yuga for the good of the world. You see, the Brahmins of the Kali age are short-lived, and their intellects, their buddhis, are not very sharp. They cannot realize the meaning after studying the Vedas. Knowing this, in every Dwarpa Yuga, Bhagavan expounds the holy Purana. Sutta said, I have heard the holy Srimad Bhagavatam from the mouth of Krishna Dvaipayana. This removes all troubles, yields all desires, and gives moksha, and is full of the meaning of the Vedas. This treatise contains the essence of all the sastras and is dear always to those who are looking for moksha or liberation. O best of Munis, thus compiling the Puranas, Vedavyasa, Krishna Dvaipayana, called in this age, thought that this Purana was the very best, the Srimad Devi Bhagavatam. And without teaching it to any other, he settled that his own son, the high-souled Sukadeva, born of the dry woods used for kindling, having no passion for worldly things, would be a fit student to be taught this wonderful Purana, and therefore taught him. At that time, I was a fellow student along with Sukadeva, and I heard everything from the mouth of Vedavyasa and realized the secret meanings thereof. This has happened through the grace of the merciful Guru, Vedavyasa. Here ends the 3rd chapter of the Srimad Devi Bhagavatam on praising the Puranas and on each of the Vedavyasas of every Dwapara Yuga. Chapter 4. The Rishi said, O Sutta, how was Sukadeva born, who studied these Puranas? By which wife of Vedavyasa was he born, and how? O highest intelligent one, you have just spoken that Sukadeva was not born from the womb in the natural way. He was born of dry pieces of wood for the Homa sacrifice. But we heard before that the great ascetic was a yogi even in his mother's womb. So great doubt comes to our minds. You better remove this today. How he studied also these Puranas as vast in their nature. Say this. Sutta said, in long past days, Satyavati's son, Vedavyasa, while in his own hermitage on the banks of the river Saraswati, was greatly wondered to see a pair of sparrows. He saw that the pair putting frequently the food into the beak of their young one, just born of the egg, of beautiful body, red mouth, and greasy body. They do not care at all for their own hunger and toil. All they are caring about is for the nurture of their young one. He said also that the pair are rubbing their bodies over the body of the baby and kissing lovingly the mouth of the young one and feeling the highest pleasure. Seeing this wonderful affection of the 2 sparrows toward their young, Vedavyasa became very anxious and thought over the following in his mind. Oh, what wonder is there when the birds have so much filial affection towards their child that men who want service from their sons would show their affection toward their sons. The sparrows will not perform the happy marriage of their young one, and will not see the face of their son's wife, nor when they have a wife, nor when they grow old, that their child could become very religious or serve them to attain great merits in heaven. Nor do they expect their child would earn money and satisfy them, nor the child would perform, when they die, their funeral rites duly and help them in the sojourn in the next world. Nothing of all this. Nor will the child perform the Shraddha ceremony at Gaya. Yet the pairs of sparrows have so much affection toward their young one. Oh, in this world, to touch the body of the sun, especially to nurture the sun, is the highest happiness in the world. There is no prospect in life after birth of the sunless. Never, never will heaven be his. Without a son, there is none others who can be of help in the next world. Thus thinking variously, Vedavyasa sighed heavily and became unmindful. He thought of various plans, and at last, coming to a definite conclusion, went to the Sumeru mountain to perform tapasya. On reaching there, he thought about which deva will he worship. Vishnu, Shiva, Indra, Brahma, Surya, Ganesh, Kartikeya, Agni, or Varuna? Who will grant him the boon quickly so that he can have a son? While thus cogitating in his mind, came there the Muni Narada, of one mind, with lute in his hand, accidentally in his course of travels. Seeing Narada, the Satyavata's son, Vyasa, gave him a hearty welcome, and with gladness offered him a sacred seed and asked about his welfare. Hearing this question of welfare, Narada Muni spoke, O Vedavyasa, why do you look so careworn? First speak this out to me. Vedavyasa said, the sunless man has no goal, therefore there is no happiness in my mind. I'm always anxious to get a son, and therefore I'm very sorry. Today my mind is sorely troubled with the one idea, which deva I may satisfy by my tapasya. Who will grant me my desires? Now I take your refuge. O merciful Maharishi, you are omniscient. Say this quickly. Which deva will I take for my refuge? Who will grant me a son? Sutta said, thus questioned by Vedavyasa, the high-souled Narada Muni, well-versed in the Vedas, became very glad and spoke thus. O highly fortunate Sutta, highly fortunate one, the question that you have asked me today was formerly asked by my father, Vishnu. At this, Vishnu, Vasudeva, the Deva of Devas, the creator, preserver, and destroyer of the universe, the husband of Lakshmi, the four-armed, wearing yellow garments, holding conch shell and discus and club, with his breast adorned with a beautiful ruby, the divinity himself became merged into great yoga. At this, my father, Brahma, became greatly surprised and said, O Vishnu, thou art the Deva of the Devas, the Lord of the present and the past and the future, the Lord of this universe. Why art thou meditating in yoga? And what is it that thou art meditating upon? O best of Devas, thou art the Lord of the entire universe, yet now you are merged in deep meditation. O Lord of Rama, I am sprung from the lotus from thy navel and have become the Lord of this whole universe. Who is there in this universe that is superior to thee? Kindly say this to me. O Lord of the world, thou art the origin of all the causes. You are the creator, preserver, and destroyer, and the capable doer of all actions. O Maharaja, at thy will, I create this whole universe, and Rudra destroys it in due time. He is always under thy command. O Lord, by the command, the sun roams in the sky, the winds blow in various auspicious or inauspicious ways, and the fire is giving heat, and the cloud showers rain. I didn't see in the three lokas anyone superior to thee, Vishnu. This is my main point of doubt, O one of good vows. I am thy devotees. Please be merciful to me and speak this to me. There's almost nothing that is secret to you. This is a well-known fact. Thus hearing Brahma's word, Vishnu spoke, O Brahma, I now speak out my mind to you. Listen carefully. Though the Devas, Danavas, and men and all the Lokas know that you are the creator, I am the preserver, and Rudra as the destroyer, yet it is to be known that the saints, versed in the Vedas, have come to the conclusion by inference from the Vedas that the creation, preservation, and destruction are performed by the creative force, preservative force, and destructive force. The Rajasic creative force residing in you, the Sattvic preservative force residing in me, and the Tamasic destructive force residing in Rudra are the all in all. When these Shaktis become absent, you become inert and incapable to create, I to preserve, or Rudra to destroy. O intelligent Brahma, we are always under the force, directly or indirectly. Here instances that you can see and infer. At the time of Pralaya, I lie down on the bed of Ananta, subservient to the force. Again, I wake up in the time of creation, only under the influence of time. I am always subservient to that Mahashakti. I am under her command. I am engaged in tapasya for a long time by her command. Sometime I enjoy with Lakshmi, sometime I fight battles terrible to all the lokas with the Danavas, involving great bodily troubles. O knower of Dharma, it was before your presence that I fought hand to hand for 5,000 years before your sight on that one great ocean in long past days with the two demons, Madhu and Kaitaba, which sprung from the wax of my ears. Maddened with pride, and by the grace of the Devi, I successfully killed the two Danavas. O highly fortunate one, Brahma, you realized then the great Shakti, higher than the highest and the cause of all causes. Then why are you asking again and again this same question? By the will of the Shakti, the Divine Mother, I have got this idea of man and roam on the great ocean. In yuga after yuga, I assume by her will the tortoise, the boar, the man-lion, and the dwarf incarnations. No one likes to take birth in inferior wombs. Do you think I willingly take unpleasant births as in the womb of boars and tortoises? Certainly not. What independent man is there who abandons the pleasurable enjoyment with Lakshmi and takes birth in inferior animals as fish, or leaves his seat on the seat of Garuda and becomes engaged in great wars and conflicts? O Brahma, in ancient days you saw before your eyes that my head was cut off when the bowstring suddenly gave way, and then you brought a horse's head, and by that help the divine artist Vishvakarma stuck that on my head, on my headless body. O Brahma, since then I am known amongst men by the name of Hadagriva. This is well known to you. Now say, were I independent, would such an ignominy have happened to me? Never. Therefore, I am not independent. I am in every way under the Divine Mother Shakti's command. O Brahma, I always meditate on that Shakti, and I do not know any other than this Shakti. Narada then said, thus spoke Vishnu to Brahma, O Muni Vedavyasa. Brahma spoke this to me. So you too better meditate on the lotus feet of Bhagavati, the Divine Mother, calmly in the lotus of your heart for the success of your idea. That Devi will give you all that you wish. Suta said, at these words of Narada, Satyavati's son, Vedavyasa, went out to the hills for tapasya, trusting the lotus feet of the Devi as the all-in-all of the world. Thus ends the 4th chapter of the first book of the excellent Devi Mahapuran, Srimad Devi Bhagavatam. Chapter 5. The Rishi said, O Suta, our minds are merged in a sea of doubt. Hearing this most beautiful story, saying surprising to the whole world that the head of Vishnu, the Lord of all, was severed off his body, and he was afterwards known as Hadagriva, the horse-faced. Oh, what more wonder can there be than this? Whom the Vedas even praise, all the devas rest on whom? Who is the cause of all causes, the Adi Deva, Vishnu? Oh, how is it that his head came to be severed, O highly intelligent one? Describe all this to us in detail. Suta said, O Munis, hear all attentively the glorious deeds of the supremely energetic Vishnu, the Deva of Devas. Once on a time, the eternal Deva, Vishnu, became tired after the terrible continuous battle for 10,000 years. After this, Vishnu seated himself in Padasma, in some lovely place on a level plot of ground, and placing his head on the front of his bow with the bowstring and placed erect on the ground, fell asleep. Vishnu, the Lord of Rama, was exceedingly tired, and thus he fell soon deep into a deep sleep. And this time Indra and the other devas, with Brahma and Shiva, began a sacrifice. Then they, for the sake of success of the devas' work, went to the region where Vishnu was. There the devas, not finding Vishnu, came to know that he was out in this beautiful place and went to Vishnu. They saw that the Lord Vishnu, the Deva of the Devas, was lying unconscious, being under the arms of Yoga Nidra, the yoga of sleep. Therefore they took their seats there, seeing the Lord of the universe asleep. Brahma, Rudra, and the other Devas became anxious. Indra then addressed the Devas, O best of Suryas, now what is to be done? How shall we rouse Bhagavan Vishnu from his sleep? Now think of the means by which this can be effected. Hearing Indra's words, Shiva said, O good Devas, now we must finish our sacrificial work. But if the sleep of Bhagavan be disturbed, he would get angry. Hearing Shiva's word, Brahma created Brahmis, insects, a sort of white ants, so that they might eat up the forepart of the bow that was lying on the ground, causing the other end to rise up and thus break his sleep. Thus the Deva's purpose would be served, no doubt. Thus settling his mind, the eternal Brahma ordered the white ants to cut the bowstring. Hearing this order of Brahma, Vamri, the white ants, spoke to Brahma and said, O Brahma, how can I disturb the sleep of the Deva of the Lord Vishnu, the world Guru? To rouse one from one's deep sleep, to interrupt one's speech, to sever the love between a couple, husband and wife, to separate a child from one's mother, all these are equivalent to Brahma Hatya, murdering a Brahman. Therefore, O Deva, how can I interrupt the happiness of sleep of Vishnu? And what benefit shall I derive by eating the bowstring so that I may incur this vicious act? But a man can commit a sin if there be any interest of his. I am ready to eat this if I get a personal interest. Brahma said, we will give you too share of our sacrificial fire ceremonies. So here, do our work and rouse Vishnu from his sleep. During the time of performing yagya, homas, whatever ghee will fall outside the homakund, the sacrificial pit, will fall to your share. So be quick and do this. Sutta said, thus ordered by Brahma, the white ants soon ate away the fore end of the bow that rested on the ground. Immediately the string gave way and the bow went up. The other end became free and a terrible sound took place. The Devas became afraid. The whole universe got agitated. The earth trembled. The sea became swollen. The aquatic animals became startled. Violent winds blew and the mountains shook. Ominous meteors fell. The quarters assumed a terrific aspect. The sun went down in the horizon. At that time of distress, the Devas became anxious what evil might come down. O Munis, while the Devas were thus cogitating, the head with the crown on it of Vishnu vanished away. Nobody knew where it fell. When the awful darkness disappeared, Brahma and Shiva saw the disfigured body of Vishnu with its head off. Seeing that headless figure of Vishnu, they were greatly surprised. They were drowned in the ocean of cares and overwhelmed with grief, and they began to weep aloud. O Lord, O Deva, O Eternal One, O Vishnu, what unforeseen, extraordinary mishap occurred to us today? O Deva, thou canst not be pierced, nor cut asunder, nor capable of being burnt. How is it then that thy head has been taken away? Is this Mahamaya of some kind, O all-pervading one? The Devas cannot live when thy condition is thus. We do not know what affection dost thou have towards us. We're crying because of our selfish ends. Perhaps this was therefore why it has occurred. The Deitas, the Yakshas or Rakshasas, have not done this, O Lord Vishnu. Whose fault will be ascribed to this? The Devas themselves have committed this loss to themselves. O Lord, the Devas are now dependent. They are under thee. Now where are we to go? What are we to do? There is none to save the dull, stupid Devas. At this juncture, seeing Shiva and the other Devas crying, Brihaspati, their gurus, supremely versed in the Vedas, consoled them thus. O highly fortunate one, what use is there will be in thus crying and repenting? It ought you now to consider the means that you should adopt to redress your calamities. O Lord of the Devas, fate and one's own exertion and intelligence are equal. If the success comes not through fate, one is certainly to show one's own merit and power. Indra said, "Fie to your exertion, when before our eyes the head of Bhagavan Vishnu himself has been cut off. Fie to your prowess and intelligence. Fate is, in my opinion, the supreme." Brahma said, "Whatever auspicious or inauspicious is ordained by fate, everyone must bear that. No one can go beyond that." When one has taken up a body, one must experience pleasure and pain. There is no manner of doubt in this. See, in long past days, by the irony of fate, Shiva severed my head. His generative organ, too, dropped down through curse. Similarly, Vishnu's head has today fallen into the salt ocean. By the influence of time, Indra, the lord of Sati, had thousands of marks all over his body and was expelled from the heavens and had to live in the Mansaravar in the lotus and had to suffer many other miseries. O glorious one, when such personages have suffered pains, then who else is there in this world that does not suffer? So you all cease sorrows and meditate on the eternal Mahamaya, who is the mother of all, who is the supporter of all, who is the nature of the supreme knowledge, and who is beyond the gunas, who is the prime prakriti, and who pervades the three lokas, the whole universe, moving and unmoving. She will dispense our welfare. Sutta said, thus saying to the Devas, Brahma ordered all the Vedas that were incarnate there in their forms for the successful issue of the Devas' work. Brahma said, O Vedas, now go on and chant hymns to the sacred, eternal, highest Devi Mahamaya, who is Brahma Vidya, who brings all actions to their successful issues, who is hidden in all forms. Hearing his words, the all-beautiful Vedas began to chant hymns to Mahamaya, who can be comprehended by knowledge and who pervades the world. The Vedas said, obeisance to the Devi, to the Mahamaya, to the auspicious one, to the creatrix of the universe. We bow down to thee, who is beyond the gunas, the ruler of all the beings. O Mother, thou givest to Shiva even his desires. Thou art the receptacle of all things. Thou art the prana of all living beings. Thou art Buddhi, your Lakshmi, wealth, forgiveness, peace, shraddha, intellect, fortitude, and smriti, recollection. Thou art the bindu over the pranava, om, and thou art the nature of the semi-moon. Thou art Gayatri, thou art Jaya, thou art Laja, Kirti, and Daya in all beings. O Mother, thou art the merciful mother of the three worlds. Thou art the adorable, auspicious Vidya, knowledge, benefiting all the lokas. Thou destroyest the universe, and thou skillfully residest hidden in the bija mantras. Therefore we are praising thee. O Mother, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, Indra, Surya, fire, Saraswati, and other regions of the universe are all thy creation, so none of them is superior to thee. Thou art the mother of all things, moving and non-moving. O Mother, when thou dost will to create this visible universe, thou createst first Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, and markest them to create, preserve, and destroy this universe. But thou remainest quite unattached to the world. Ever thou remainest constant in the one form. No one in this universe is able to know thy nature, nor there is anybody who can enumerate thy names. How can he promise to jump across the illimitable ocean who cannot jump across an ordinary well? O Bhagavati, no one amongst the Devas even knows particularly thy endless power and glory. Thou art alone the lady of the universe and the mother of the three worlds. O Mother, it is that thou dost know nothing about the falling off of Vishnu's head, or knowingly thou wanted to examine Vishnu's powers? Is it that Vishnu incurred some heinous sin? How can that be? Where is a sin to thy followers who serve thee? O Mother, why art thou so much indifferent to the Devas? It is great wonder that the head of Vishnu is severed. Really, we are merged in great misfortune. Thou art clever in removing the sorrows of thy devotees. Why art thou delaying in fixing again Vishnu's body? O Devi, is it that thou takest offense on the gods had cast that on Vishnu? Or was it that Vishnu became proud, and to curb that thou hast played thus? Or is it that the deities, having suffered defeat from Vishnu, went and practiced severe tapasya in some beautiful holy place, and have got some boon, and so Vishnu's head has fallen off? Or is it, Bhagavati, that thou wert very eagerly interested to see Vishnu's headless body, and therefore thou hast seen thus, O prime force? Is it that thou art angry at the daughter of the salt ocean, Lakshmi Devi? Else why hast thou deprived her of her husband? Therefore dost thou gladden her by giving back her husband's life. The principal devas engaged in thy service always make their bows down to thee. O Devi, bless thou kind enough and make alive the Deva Vishnu, the Lord of all, and cross us across this ocean of sorrows, O Mother. We cannot make out anything whatsoever where Vishnu's head has gone. We have no other protectress than thee, who can give back his life. O Devi, dost thou give life to the whole world as the nectar gives life to all of the devas? Sutta said, thus praised by the Vedas with their songs from the Samaveda, the Nirguna Maheshvara, Devi Mahamaya, became pleased. Then the auspicious voice came to them from the heavens, gladdening all and pleasing to the ears, though no form was seen. O Suryas, Devas, she said, do not care anything about it. You are immortal. What fear can you have? Come to your senses. I am very much pleased by the praise sung by the Vedas. There is no doubt in this. Amongst men, whoever will read this stotas with devotion will get all that he desires. Whoever will hear this with devotion during the special days of Navratri will be freed from troubles and become happy. Does anything take place in this world without any cause? Now hear why Vishnu's head was cut off. Once on a time, seeing the beautiful face of his dear wife, Lakshmi Devi, Vishnu laughed in the presence of her. At this, Lakshmi Devi came to understand that he has seen surely something ugly in my face, and therefore he laughed. Otherwise, why would my husband laugh at seeing me? But what reason can there be to see ugliness in my face after so long? And why shall he laugh without seeing something ugly without any cause? Or, may it be, he has made some other beautiful woman as my co-wife? Thus arguing variously in her mind, Mahalakshmi gradually got angry, and the Tamo Guna slowly possessed her. Then, by turn of fate, in order that the gods' work might be completed, very fierce Tamas Sakti entered into her body. She got very angry and slowly said, Vishnu, let thy head fall off. Thus, owing to destiny, Lakshmi cursed without any thought, good or bad, causing her own suffering. By the tamasic Sakti possessing her, she thought that having a co-wife would be more painful than her widowhood, and thus she cursed him. Owing to that curse, the head of Vishnu has fallen into the salt ocean. Now I will fix the head on his body as before. There is another cause also regarding this affair that will bring you great success. In ancient days, a famous devata named Griya practiced severe tapasya on the banks of the Saraswati River. Abandoning all sorts of enjoyments, with control over his senses and without any food, the devata did japam of the repeated one-syllable Mahabija mantra and meditating on the form of the tamasic Sakti of mind, adorned with all ornaments, practiced very terrible austerities for 1,000 years. I too went to the place of austerities in my tamasic form, meditated by the demon, and appeared before him. There, seated on the lion's back, feeling compassion for his tapasya, I spoke to him. O glorious one, O one of good vows, I have come to grant a boon to thee. Hearing the words of the Devi, the demon instantly got up and, falling down with devotion at her feet, circumambulated her. Looking at my form, his eyes became cheerful with feelings of love and filled with tears. Shedding tears, then he began to chant hymns to me. Harigriva said, "Obeisance to the Devi Mahamaya, I bow down to thee, the creatrix, the preserver, and the destructress of the universe. Skilled in showing favor to thy devotees, giver of the devotees' desires, obeisance to thee. O thou, the giver of liberation, O thou, the auspicious one, I bow down to thee. Thou art the cause of the 5 elements, earth, water, air, fire, and ether. Thou art the cause of form, taste, smell, sound, and touch. O Maheshwari, Divine Mother, all the organs of the bodies bow to thee. Hands, feet, speech, arms, and the organ of generation are all created by thee." The Divine Mother said, "O child, I'm very much satisfied with your wonderful tapasya and devotion. Now say, what boon do you want? I will give you the boon that you desire." Harigriva said, "O Mother, grant me that boon by which death will not come to me, and I be invincible by the devas and the asuras. I may be a yogi and immortal." The Devi said, "Death brings in birth, and birth brings in death. That is inevitable. This order of things is extant in this world. Never its violation takes place. O best of the demons, thus knowing death sure, think in your mind and ask another boon." Harigriva said, "O Mother of the Universe, if it be that thou art not willing to grant me the immortality, then grant me the boon that my death may not occur from any other than from one who is horse-faced like me. Be merciful and grant me this boon that I desire. O highly fortunate one, go home and govern your kingdom at your ease. Death won't occur to you from any other being than one who is horse-faced." Thus granting the boon, the Devi vanished. Becoming very glad on getting his boon, Hayagriva went to his residence. Since then, this wicked demon is troubling very much all the Devas and the Munis. There is none in the 3 worlds to kill him. So let Vishvakarma take a horse's head and fix it on the headless body of Lord Vishnu. Then Bhagavan Vishnu will slay the vicious demon Harigriva for the good of the Devas. Sutta said, thus speaking to the Devas, Bhagavati remained silent. The Devas came very glad and spoke to Vishvakarma. Kindly do the Devas' work and fix Vishnu's head with a horse. He will become Harigriva and kill the indomitable demon. And so he did. He fixed that headless body of Vishnu with a horse's head, and by the grace of Mahamaya, Bhagavan became horse-faced, or Hayagriva. Then a few days after Bhagavan, Harigriva killed that proud Danava, the Devi's enemy, by sheer force. Any man hearing this excellent anecdote becomes freed certainly of all sorts of difficulties. hearing or reading of Mahamaya's glorious deeds, pure and sin-destroying, gives all sorts of wealth. Thus ends the 5th chapter of the first book of the description of the narrative of Hayagriva in the Mahapuran Shiva Devi Bhagavatam of 18,000 verses. Mahamaya Mata Ki Jai, Bole Baba Ki Jai.